Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Hello, good morning. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And this morning, to discuss where on earth our country is headed, especially economic-wise, is no better person, perhaps, than the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena. Very good morning to you,
Dr.
Morning,
Faraz.
But straight away, you've got a story which we didn't even plan on, and which is that you've taken an hour and 15 minutes to get here, even though the transport picked you up, right? And you've come over the flyover, the Rajagiri
Exactly,
flyover.
Faraz, from the Parliamentary Junction to say Kanatta in Borella, it took 45 minutes. It took 45 minutes and the traffic had not eased at all. And in fact, in my view, at this hour, because it was around 6 o'clock in the morning, early in the morning, the traffic has worsened.
It has worsened.
It has worsened, yes.
So all that money spent.
It would have been, I think, planned better for us because in my opinion, the type of flyover that they have put up there has not been the best option available for any for Sri Lankan traffic planners to ease the traffic on that particular road.
Right. Do you think it's in the wrong direction?
It's in the wrong direction. Maybe in the wrong direction. Or I mean, now of course you can't do anything about it for us because the money has already been spent and you have set up this flyover there.
Commissions have been paid.
We don't know about that, but of course the things would have been done better if they had planned it better for us.
It's an appalling lack of planning and so on. Now then, Doctor, I've now see something very strange is happening. In between this political sort of leadership crisis, everybody's talking about that and so on. In between all that, we notice that the Central Expressway has been awarded, and even though concern was brought about why there was a departure of process and so on, there's another thing. Again, this national payment platform has raised its, what I call its ugly head again, right? And on top of that, we have the governor of the central bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, who's written to the Prime Minister's Secretary saying that this hybrid company is not required. Well, what's going on? Is this required? Why do we need another one?
As far as it is indeed an ugly head, because I had already argued many times on this particular issue.
Yeah.
Because the responsibility for having a national payments gateway in Sri Lanka has been vested by law with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Because that's the regulatory authority as well as it's the authority which has the powers to introduce a national payments gateway with all types of checks, balances and security systems.
Yeah.
For that purpose, there is already an institution called Lanka Clear, which is jointly owned by the central bank and all the other commercial banks in Sri Lanka, which had been functioning very effectively over the last, say, 15-year period, because it was established in year 2002. From 2002 onwards till today, Lanka Clear had been providing the payment system in Sri Lanka, and it had already invested some 40 million rupees to develop the software as well as the hardware needed to run a payment system. And its payment had been tested by the Inland Revenue Department, Sri Lanka Customs and Excise Department, and it had been proved that it is effective and it had been able to reduce the cost involved in making payments as well, and it was about to go online. By the time former Minister of Finance Rai Karunanayake, along with this Information and Communication Technology Agency in Sri Lanka, were trying to take it away, hijack it from the central bank as well as from the Lanka Clear, and establish another company. We don't know for what purpose. And now if it is re-emerging, it is actually this government is actually digging its own grave, in my opinion, because already things had been done, and they were about to go online, and it had been tested, and the customs, inland revenue, and also the excise department had certified that it was foolproof.
Dr. Vijayawardena, why? I mean, in this letter that Dr. Kumaraswamy wrote to the Prime Minister's Secretary, he said that no central bank officials were present at the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management when the decision was taken to recommend the setting up of this.
I mean, if the governor has said so, far as we'll have to, I think, send a bouquet of flowers to Governor Indrajit Kumaraswamy, because he had been a very straightforward person.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't find that. I don't find that kind of response from any other governor in this country.
This is no rogue governor. This is the governor in place with a lot of I know that there's frustration at certain things and so on, but by and large, Dr. Kumaraswamy, in my travels around, I don't have people knocking him. I have people saying he's very good.
The country will have to rally behind Governor Kumaraswamy, because he's actually standing for the rights of the people of this country.
That's right. And how on earth, actually, I'm going to have to borrow Mr. Sambandan's words here. How dare these people have the CCEM have a meeting on something in which the central bank is central to, and without those officials present, they willy-nilly do what they want.
Well, far as this government, you may recall, came to power promising that they would deliver economic democracy to Sri Lanka.
Absolutely.
What we mean by economic democracy, far as whenever an economic policy is made, they have to make wide consultations with all the stakeholders involved. In this case, the stakeholders are the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the relevant government revenue collection agencies, then the members of the public, the banking community, and if the cabinet subcommittee had not consulted any of these stakeholders when they made decision, they had gone actually against the promise that they had made to the members of the public at the time of general election.
Does it appear to you that they simply don't care about the undertakings?
Well, it is not something that they should have done, and of course, it will go against the government itself. I mean, President will have to now look at this particular issue very carefully, because there is this Economic Council that has been set up above the Cabinet Subcommittee now. The Economic Council will have to take it up, because the Governor Central Bank is a member of the Economic Council, National Economic Council, under President now.
But come on. It's frustrating, isn't it?
It's frustrating. Not only frustrating, it's going against the wishes of the people. It's going against the correct type of policy that we have to implement in Sri Lanka. And it will actually be another kind of a scam that might hang on the government for us, because we already have this bond scam. Now, this is another kind of a scam now.
It is. And all our information will be available to this sort of third-party company.
Not only that, far as, because if the payment system is regulated by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka through a company which is being operated by Central Bank along with the banking community, we can always establish the necessary checks and the balancing system.
Now, in mature economies, how does it work?
No, in mature economies, far as, because there are certain things that have been introduced in order to regulate them. But here we are in a developing country. In a developing country, the problem is we cannot trust anyone.
Well, we can't. How can we? You're absolutely right.
The reason is, now, for example, I might pay my income tax through this new company which the government is planning to set up. And I have to have the assurance that all the monies that I pay will reach the Inland Revenue Department. And if this cannot be assured, I don't know where the money would go. Ultimately, because all these electronic transactions for us, we have to be mindful of the fact that they are done at the speed of light. That is 186 miles per second.
Yeah.
So if something has gone out of the payment system,
Yeah.
we don't know where it has ended up.
Indeed.
So this is the problem faced by any country and faced by government, faced by central bank, faced by the people who make the payments,
Yeah.
and the receiving agencies. And once it has been paid outside and it had gone somewhere else,
Then-
it cannot be recovered again.
Indeed.
So this is the safety system that we have to establish, and I think the government is making another big mistake if it doesn't consult the central bank properly,
Yeah.
and if it doesn't use the infrastructure already set up in Lanka Clear
Yeah.
after spending 40 million rupees,
Yeah.
and also a system which had been certified by the income receiving agencies of the country.
Why do you have to fix anything that is not broken?
This is indeed the question that I think people will have to ask now.
Yeah. If you've got a perfectly good car, right, and it's working fine, why do you have
I
to
mean,
change?
you-
Unless
you-
you want a brand new car.
You are creating a new problems for yourself.
New problem.
New problems. There will be new problems because unless the central, because it would have been better for the cabinet to consult the central bank and get its opinion, and also decide on the basis of the recommendations made by the central bank.
Because they are the professionals.
Not only professional, they are the people who have been authorized by parliament for us.
Right.
Like you
that's
can't go
even-
against parliament.
Yes, apart from
Cabinet is not above parliament.
Indeed.
Cabinet has to,
But
because
it looks like the CCEM, which is some baby brainchild of this Prime Minister, and I know that now the President says that he's going to be the head of that. But doesn't the President realize this?
no, for us now, of course, the arrangement now there is this National Economic Council
Yeah.
set up under the chairmanship of President,
Yeah.
which has to function above the CCEM now.
Yeah.
So as a result, I am sure the National Economic Council will take it up and put it in the correct perspective now.
Right.
Because we are in a situation where CCEM has made a wrong decision,
Yeah.
and now it can be corrected by the National Economic Council.
But I mean, despite and in spite of all these sort of checks and balances, you have a situation where you have a national procurement guideline.
Yeah.
And it says do things this way. If it's over 1 million rupees, you've got to do certain things in a certain style and format. And then you have all these cabinet-appointed negotiating committees, appointed procurement committees, and so on and so forth. And now, like you say, the National Procurement Council, the National Economic Council, and all that. But in spite and despite all that, there is still a very robust departure from process, as we saw with the central bank, the bond thing. I mean, central to that whole scam was the fact that they departed from process. The system that had been in place in 17 years or whatever it was suddenly changed overnight without following the process. We're not saying you can't change it. And the same with the Central Expressway. It's so clear that Taisei, this company that has now been awarded this contract, that it was so clear right from the beginning that they were intent on giving it to Taisei. In between, they bought this other company, and then they bought an Indian contractor, subcontractor, and so on. But the bottom line is that there is this departure from process. And every time there's a departure from process, it costs the public money.
It not only costs public money for us, it actually erodes the public confidence also. Because for an economy to function properly, in any country, whether it is developing or developed, it doesn't matter, the public and the investors should have confidence in the systems, in the institutions, and also in the people who run those institutions. Now what is happening is, if there is an erosion of the confidence, the government will not be able to generate the required level of investments in order to push the economy upward and achieve the target of becoming a developed country in a single generation. So that is where we are now facing, because the already, as I have mentioned earlier, the Lanka Clear has developed the systems and they were about to go online.
Yeah.
Now if you want to have a new company to take it over, they have to restart it and they have to reinvent it, and there is no necessity for you to do that, because one good example is now Inland Revenue Department has already introduced this RAMIS, Revenue Administration Management Information System, and they have developed the computer system.
Yeah.
And still people are unable to pay their taxes online because there is no payment system.
Right.
And still the RAMIS is using the old system of filling up your tax returns, sending it by post to the Inland Revenue Department people capturing it manually, the data system, and lots of problems are there because you have already established RAMIS, but the RAMIS cannot go online because there is no payment system. The same problem is faced by the Sri Lanka Customs also.
Right.
So the Lanka Clear was ready to go online about, say, 1 year ago.
Are you able, Dr. Wijewardena, as a concerned and responsible citizen of this country and somebody with some sort of knowledge on these matters, is it possible for you to write a letter to the President and caution him on the potential what's going to happen?
Well, of course, I have been doing it in my weekly article in the daily Faras. But of course, that is being read by people like this Dr. Lalit Samarakon, who has been the Secretary General of the National Economic Council.
But what about the President? I'm concerned that the President is not receiving this information.
President may be receiving, because I don't think that the President is unaware of the present situation, because the concerned citizens have already raised their voice. Sri Lanka Banks Association has already raised its voice. Central Bank Governor has written this letter. It appears to the Secretary to the Prime Minister.
Let's just stop you there. We'll come back to the presidential concern and the presidential awareness in a moment. We've got to go and have this short break. Don't go away.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukutali.
And welcome back to Newsline, where we're discussing this national payment platform. I was talking to you before the break, Dr. Wijewardena, about writing a letter to the President and ensuring that, I'm sure that he gets information from all sorts of agencies, but sometimes I think a letter from or notification from a professional, and he knows that you're a professional, he knows your background, he may well sit up and do something. I urge you, as do several people on messages here, urging you to write a letter in the language that he understands best and to deliver it to him.
Well, of course, I think Governor Central Bank has already done that.
Right.
So there's no necessity for people concerned to raise this voice, because this had been discussed, I know, at higher levels, and I am sure President is aware of the current situation.
Right, but on another note, or a related note, why do you think that the Prime Minister, who's got enough of contentious issues on hand, why do you think that he's now letting himself open to yet another scandal?
This is already, far as I also cannot understand it, because already this had been settled. Because you may recall when former Minister of Finance Rai Karunanika came up with this proposal in the budget. He came up with the proposal in the budget for 2016 and 2017 that the government was going to set up a company under ICTA to run the country's payments gateway. At that time, this was opposed by the banking sector, by the central bank, and by the community, and therefore he had to, shelve it. Then, when the new Minister of Finance became, the Mr. Mangal Samagara became the new Minister of Finance, and Mr. Iran Vikramaratne, new State Minister of Finance, both of them publicly announced that they will go with the central bank's proposal and Lanka Clear as the main institution to run Sri Lanka's payments gateway.
Dr. Iran, of course, made the statement, made a note that it would be best if the central bank wasn't part owner of it, that their interest should be held by some other government.
Exactly. Not the government, it should be the Lanka Clear, which is owned by the country's banking system.
Correct.
That is the important thing here. And if you do it through another agency or another person, for us the reason is that again the fear that people have expressed that their private information could be divulged to other institutions.
No, that's right, because we don't want our information held
privacy of the people.
Yes, there's no privacy
that
laws.
could be violated.
Exactly. There's no privacy laws here separate. So therefore, until such time as we become robust and a mature system, the people will be far more confident if the central bank was the regulator and had the payment platform and was part of the payment platform, because our faith could be in the central bank, but not in some company that's linked to some minister and so on, that enjoys political patronage. Because they will have access to all our deep private and personal details. I don't know about you, but I don't want to use my thing online.
Exactly.
Because I don't want it. We did a story many months ago, about nearly 2 years now, 1.5 years ago, in which this chap, a Sri Lankan based in Dubai, put just about $1 million, $1 million US, on a fixed deposit in US dollars with a state bank. And when it came to time for him to withdraw it, the money was missing. Later investigations by the CID and so on found out that some Nigerian scammers had taken the money out of his account. Now they're spending close upon 80 million rupees, the bank of Ceylon, on legal fees, trying to hide behind. They should be paying this customer his money instead of wasting even more money. So what I'm trying to say is that system somehow got corrupted, and there was not enough safeguards. So here we have a system that's working, and the governor of the central bank says we don't need something, and then you have this Mrs. Mubarak who's writing, the chairperson of ICTA, writing and saying, well, hello, we're going to have a new payment platform. Why?
No, there is no necessity. In fact, it had already been an issue, it had been settled. And now the government, it appears for us, is reopening another kind of a can of worms.
Indeed, another can of worms. It's well said, really. And we have a question for you. Can these surreptitious moves be due to opportunities for money making or future frauds of big dimensions like the bond scam?
Well, it might lead to, because the reason for us is that the Lanka Clear has a good track record so far in effecting payments very efficiently in Sri Lanka.
Right.
And they introduced the Sri Lanka Interbank Payment System, which is known as the SLIPS, in 1994, in order to enable the people who make large-scale payments offline, and that had been functioning very well so far, because now even we are getting our salaries through slips today. And all the payments that we get, even the payment of salaries to the army officials, personnel, is done through slips today.
And what's CEFT then? CEFT? What's that? Is that another payment? When I do it online thing, it asks...
SWIFT is actually the central bank introduced the RTGS, real-time gross settlement system, in year 2002. The operating platform of the RTGS is called SWIFT. It's actually international payment gateway, which the central bank and all other countries are using today. It's actually virtually foolproof payment system, because there had been some instances where it had been also been hacked by some hackers, but of course it's virtually foolproof. And the SWIFT is another payment system. What is being proposed here is a local payment system for us, which would be connected to the all kinds of the local type of businesses, and also it will be for the purpose of receiving payments by the government agencies.
Right.
Today the problem is the government is receiving its income through the three main income receiving agencies, and the people have to use the old method of either payment by check or payment in cash, which is again a difficult problem, because when you write a check for us, the check has to be presented to the bank has to present it to the clearinghouse, again it has to be presented to the paying bank, and it takes time. And you don't have to have all kinds of these hassles when you can make payments online. So payment gateway is the system which would enable people to make payments online, so that the government will receive the payments in time and it will be done at a lesser cost. So these are the advantages that we are having. So this had to be continued, and since the...
So now what you're saying, Dr. Vijayawardena, as we come to the end of the program, what you're saying is that you're hopeful that the National Economic Council will spot this and do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, since the central bank governor has already raised his objections for us, I don't think National Economic Council can keep a blind eye on that, because the governor central bank is a member of the National Economic Council.
Because if they are deaf and dumb to all these matters, they may find a prosecution coming along sometime in the future.
In the future.
Indeed. Wonderful. Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, as always, many thanks for being with us, and many thanks for all your splendid efforts in the national interest. Thank you. Okay. And on that note, I want to end off by reminding everybody in Sri Lanka that whilst democracy over here seems to be on a rather slippery slope down towards disaster, all around us in the region, democracy is trying to raise its head and to hold its head high. Take, for example, the Supreme Court ruling from Pakistan, in which Nawaz Sharif has been banned by the Supreme Court from leading his party. Now then, that's something to think about. On that note, take care and God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.